Welcome back to American Arms Channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Drake, and of course you tuned in today to get a update on the outstanding PSA Poverty Shorty build kit that PSA has been offering lately. You can get these in all sorts of flavors, whether basic or all the way up to fancy, anywhere from $260 to $450 for these kits right now. Now this one's been a little bit flared out from the last time you saw it. We've gotten definitely a proper light mounting kit. We've changed our muzzle device and we've adjusted the way I've attached the sling, of course, and it's now wearing the EOTech 512. So for those of you who haven't seen the new toy alert video that I did back in September, October timeframe, this again is one of the newest toys in the household. And honestly, this has been the AR I've been shooting a lot since the time in which I bought it. In fact, we're over 800 rounds now. And really, if I remember correctly, we're around the 810, 820 round mark. The last 100 or so, last 160 rounds, 100 of which were hand loads, 55 grain hand loads I had made up, as well as so 30 CBC 62 grain full metal jacket, not SS 109, but just full metal jackets, and some Lake City XM 193 that I'd had sitting in a magazine for probably 3 or 4 years that I just decided to chew up. Really like this handgun. Again, this legally is a pistol. You have the SB A3 stock. Now this is a 5-position stock on a 6-position buffer. Brace on a 6-position buffer. Not sure really why it's only allowing me 5 positions, but out of a 6-position receiver extension buffer tube here. But that's one little comment on it that I'd like to make right off the bat. We're wearing a $40, $30 Bushnell, about a 450, 500 lumen CR123A battery light. Has 3 different settings: high power, low power, and strobe. So now that you're blind and you've had a firearm pointed at you through the screen, wake up. We're paying attention to this gun right now. The muzzle device was changed out from an A2 birdcage, which had a lot of concussion and did relatively well with flash suppression. But I've changed it out to a GunTech USA flash can. This is an aluminum muzzle device. I've not seen any erosion. It's been wearing it for around 250 rounds and 260 rounds actually. And it's been doing very well. It really does project that blast, project that flash forward. I've not seen any excessive wear, and we'll take a look at that here shortly. But the firearm has done exceptionally well, and for you safety Sally's been wearing the whole time, yes, unloaded magazine, clear firearm. Looks better with that kind of presentation though, doesn't it? Really, there's not a lot to update because it hasn't had any malfunctions. But one, and that happened in the last range session, and I will include video of that here, but please note that the malfunction you're seeing, I cleared it, I looked at it real quick, rechambered the round, fired it, no problems. There's only 1 or 2 things that could happen, and I think it was the former, where the cartridge that it misfired on, or it malfunctioned on, I should say, was a hand load that had a shoulder that was squished. Apparently I didn't check it, or I didn't catch it with my QC when I'd finished all my rounds. So what happened is it was trying to shove a non-standard size casing cartridge into its chamber, and it hung up a little bit. And I think what happened is when I was fast firing, the hammer hit the back of the bolt carrier instead of a firing pin on a locked up bolt. So the bolt wasn't locked up, and it went into battery as the hammer hit the bolt carrier, the bottom of the bolt carrier. The only other thing I can think of is I induced a hammer follow, which I have done before with a lot of guns, but I would really be surprised if I did so with this because it's a very fast action on this firearm, just because it's so overgassed. So really 800 plus rounds with no malfunctions, besides one that I will attribute towards bad ammo, improperly sized ammo. Once that cartridge had been rammed into the chamber though, it was kind of squished into what dimensions it should be. So of course it ran fine after that. Really, it's been a fantastic firearm so far. I'm really liking the way it feels and handles. The brace is fantastic. I really do think it's one of the finest pistol braces you can buy on the market. It gives you the look of the stock. It gives you a lot of the benefits of what a collapsing stock does, but it keeps the firearm a pistol. It allows you to utilize it situationally as you need to. I really, really am enjoying this firearm. The only thing I can possibly think about changing out is probably the barrel. I haven't accuracy tested it yet. I've been doing practical shooting. I've been doing just some drills, some El Presidentes, some long range, 100, 120 meter. And I say long range, but just some longer offhand shots, some squatted, some kneeled shots with it at the range. And it's doing great. Again, if you know about all the advantages and disadvantages of a 10.5 inch, 11 inch barrel, you're going to know all about that already. There's plenty of videos out there. I'm not going to cover that. But let's get to field stripping this, taking a look at the internal components, what kind of wear they're experiencing or how they're holding up. I'm getting close to the 1,000 round mark now. But all I can say is I really love this pistol build kit from PSA, and it is fantastic. So let's take a look at the internals, see how they're doing, and then watch some shooting of this little thing. All right, folks, so we're going to strip this PSA build kit here. Standard AR-15, rifle, pistol style, takedown. The rifle's already been cleared, but just to show you that everything's good to go. We're all good there. Of course, you want to shotgun the rifle open, and you can remove your bolt carrier group and your charging handle. And we will get the rest of the firearm out of the way for right now. Let the camera focus in. First thing I want to point out is the charging handle wear is a little bit more than I typically see. I'm sure PSA would correct this for me if I really asked, but this is from a lot of dry fire practice, a lot of dry fire cycling, and standard use on the range. So again, this has over 750 rounds through it. In fact, I think I'm over the 800 round mark. I will comment on that later in the video here. But this is what she looks like. It's not super pretty, but it is functioning. There is no bow to it, as you can see right there, and I pretty much predominantly just run the left-hand side because I'm right-handed, so my left hand comes back to charge the firearm. So really not terrible wear, not the best though. When I did get it, the finish did flake off here, and it took a dinger right there and wore off some finish too. Really my biggest concern is not even so much that the edges here have seen some wear. My biggest concern with this would be that you're getting too beat up right here, but really it just seems to be a finish wear and not a deformation wear on the charging handle too much. But time will tell. Charging handles are pretty cheap. You can get a decent one, a standard GI one, for $10 to $20 if you want to upgrade to a BCM or what have you. Really, it's not that big of an investment, anywhere from $25 to $60 for a really nice, high-quality charging handle. But the one that came with this kit will do for now, and I quite like the standard GI charging handles. I can run them quite well just by grabbing there. So that's hitting on the charging handle. Now, taking a look at the bolt carrier group as a whole, this has been cleaned and lubricated lightly, so we can actually see what kind of wear patterns we're getting. You can see here that we're getting a little bit of wear right here on the back rail as well as the front of the rail. The underside is seeing a little bit of polishing from being run, a little bit of shine on the edges where it's making contact with the hammer. Same thing on the opposite side, the receiver side, not the ejection port side. Got a little bit of white metal showing through here and here. Gas keys look good. Gas key is staked and still affixed very well. The sides of the cam are looking pretty good too. Standard wear pattern there. This is a phosphate finish on this, and it is chrome lined. So we're not expecting it to look pristine for thousands of rounds. We're expecting what any phosphated internal component would look like in any firearm. It's going to see some wear and it's going to break in, but it's also going to hold oil pretty well. So we're going to disassemble this real quick. Do not have to use a punch or a bullet tip to get this out. Some firearms are so tight you do have to when it comes to the AR-15. We'll give it a shake here. Firing pin's a little bit dirty, but that's all right. Firing pin looks good. No deformation, no problems with it. No mushrooming on the hammer side of the firing pin. No flattening or sharp edge mushrooming on the shoulder of the firing pin. All in all, looking really, really good. Let's take our cam out, take a look at that. One thing to pay attention to with either builds or purchases that you make or random bolt carrier groups you might purchase is that this cam pin will see a lot of gouging and deformation where it's making contact with the bolt carrier during cycling. We are not seeing that. We are seeing the cam wear pattern, but we're not seeing a lot of material offset, which is really, really good. And I've seen that material offset occur on a number of different AR-15s, whether they've been high-end or low-end. So I really would pay attention to this. This is just a standard maintenance component, but really for 750, 800 plus rounds, we're looking good, and standard break-in is occurring. Let's just take a look at how those gas rings are doing. I'll pull the bolt out slightly and just set it up, make sure it doesn't collapse. And we're good to go there. Nice friction, and as carbon builds up, of course, it's going to create an even better seal. This one has been cleaned off. Bolt looks really good. No signs of excessive wear, no signs of stress. Again, this is not a magnetic particle tested or inspected bolt. This is not a high pressure tested bolt. This is simply, it was put together once it was manufactured, and there was a couple test rounds fired out of the upper before it left Palmetto State Armory, and to my front door it came. Still made to the same quality as a standard GI bolt, still a mil-spec bolt. As far as the data package goes, as far as the dimensions go, but nothing special. If it wasn't sent by PSA, it would be a no-name bolt on Cheaper Than Dirt for probably $40, that kind of thing. So just be aware of that. But this is the type of component that you can swap in whatever you want if you decide to upgrade the firearm later on. Seeing good wear on it as far as consistent wear. Let's take the extractor off. Take a look at that. So everything inside the extractor cut looks great. The ejector looks great. The extractor does have the spring with a nested rubber post in it, as well as the black O-ring, providing a lot greater tension, really great reliability. And you really do need this on a carbine, especially the shorter barrel you go. So on this pistol being a 10.5-inch barrel, you're really going to want that with that really short dwell time and that high velocity that bolt carrier can get with the standard buffer and buffer spring. So all in all, looking great on the bolt carrier after 800 some odd rounds. Now I'm going to go off camera for a second, and we're going to pull out the buffer and buffer spring out of the receiver extension tube here. All right, really there's not a lot that happens here, but it's still a great point to update when we're taking a look at the components. No deformation on the tail end of the buffer on the nylon end. It seems to be about an H1, maybe an H2 style buffer. It's got this Teflon style coating on it. You can see that there is some wear. Now this has not been run with any other bolt carrier group besides this. So we can see there's a little bit of shine on the back of the bolt carrier, on the tail end of the bolt carrier. Not bad though. And this is again an M16 profile bolt carrier group. No serious wear other than just where it's contacting the stop for the buffer and buffer spring, as well as where it's interfacing with the bolt carrier. So nothing wrong there. Spring by 800 rounds has definitely been nice and broken in. It is a standard carbine spring. This could absolutely use an enhanced powered blue coated Sprinco spring. So it does have that springy twang to it. That will probably be the next upgrade I place in the firearm. It's a $20 upgrade, really, for that price. Having something that's a 1.5 million cycle life rated spring would definitely benefit this firearm and help slow down that bolt carrier mass, make it a little bit smoother, not as jumpy on the shot. So all in all, internal components are looking great. Firing pin's trying to escape there. Now we're going to take a look inside our lower receiver here. We can see our nickel boron enhanced standard trigger that PSA offers. Really nice break on it for a mil-spec trigger. We can see downside there, a little bit of dirt. Hard to tell, but the sear surfaces are not worn. They are smoothed out from being shot and dry fired, but really no problems there as far as the trigger group goes. Safety works great. The detent is exceptional. Every once in a while with these Anderson lowers, you will get one that has some sort of spec wrong with it, and the safety will be a little bit soft. Very, very positive. PSA has almost an oversized style safety lever here, which is really easy to get your thumb on and just clicks back and forth beautifully. All internal components are looking great. Again, I had to assemble this lower, so any sort of marring you see is from the assembly. Really, the only thing that went wrong was a mag pull component, not a PSA component, and I stripped out that bolt right there that holds the trigger guard in, but we're still good to go. So, and I did point that out on my initial video detailing the toys, or detailing the new toy, excuse me. SBA3 pistol brace, working out great. I've used it in all sorts of manner. You'll see on video, I've put it to my cheek, shouldered it, put it to my chest, all sorts of different shooting situations that called for. I did chew up the plastic a little bit with my sling, but a simple bit of paracord give me an extra inch of length and keep me from chewing up that detent anymore until I get a proper sling setup for that. But the one I've got running right now is pretty good. Elastic is doing well on the brace itself, so no complaints there. And it definitely loosens up over time and becomes more like a carbine stock on a rifle would be. Definitely easier to move around and adjust for whatever situations, for storage, for different length of pull, for different shooters, whether they are putting it to their face, using it on their forearm, however they may see fit to fire that the pistol with the brace. So really looking good on the lower receiver. Now the upper receiver, we've got a couple changes, primarily from what was last seen. Again, we're looking at a GunTech USA flash can. I know it's in coyote tan or desert tan. I'll probably paint it a different color or paint the rifle. but definitely working out well, a lot better than the A2 flash hider that came on it. This is a simple Bushnell scope, flashlight you can find at Walmart. Nothing special. Magpul mount, incorrectly mounted Magpul MOE original plastic Picatinny rail there, but it works out great for the light. We've got my EOTech 512 on it just for testing and just to see how I like it. And of course the Daniel Defense aluminum rear sight tower for F-marked front sight posts. Feed ramps are looking great. We will get the light down in here a little bit better, so we can kind of see that our upper receiver is doing fine. No excessive wear on anywhere. We can see where the rails have been running on that bolt carrier group. Really, I don't see anything that's not standard wear and tear for a non-Cerakoted, non-Duracoated firearm. We've got our standard brass ejection marks. I'm not seeing anything that's really any different than any other standard anodization that will come on a mil-spec style firearm. One thing I can point out, though, is there is something slightly out of spec on the upper receiver, and I'm sure PSA would correct this if I contacted them. They're pretty renowned by now for their customer service. It just seems like there may be 1,000th or 100,000th that is a little proud here on the bottom, and I could take that down with a needle file and a little bit of time, but really what that's doing, and it might be a tolerance stacking issue between my Anderson lower and this PSA upper, but what it is doing, it is preventing factory Colt magazines from sliding in easily and dropping free. It's simply catching right up here on the front of it, and you can see slight amounts of wear right here. But other than that, really it's had no problem, and not a lot of people are going to be running those Colt magazines anyhow. So let's get the pistol back together and give you my final thoughts on the round count update and what I think's happening with this firearm. Well, as you saw, guys, internals are looking great. Going to wrap up with some shooting video here. I really think that this is a great value. If you're purchasing one now or considering purchasing one soon, whenever they have a deal, I definitely would get one that has the furniture you want on it. I would recommend the MOE, even an MOE blower kit with the maybe a free float rail. And I'd also suggest that you watch for the sales on the nitride version ones, where the nitride bolt carrier group and the nitride barrel are included. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, probably $25 to $30 more expensive than what this was, but considering the phosphate kits run out so fast and they're doing so well on the nitride kits now, because I do keep up with their daily deals and everything. Honestly, if I just waited 2 weeks to purchase, I would have ended up with the same exact firearm kit with nitride components. And the only reason I'm considering swapping out the barrel is that I know this phosphate barrel will eventually deteriorate a little bit quicker than a chrome lined or a nitride barrel will. Plus there's the corrosion concern that can occur, but I'm not tromping through the jungles of Vietnam in a high humidity environment. So we'll see how this guy does, and I can burn the barrel out and replace it for a low cost. So really, this firearm is a great option no matter what. If you like this video, please hit subscribe. You'll stay tuned for more videos like it. Hit that like button if you did like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't. Let me know what you thought in the comments, of course. And as always, God bless. Keep your powder dry. I'll see you in the next video.